Hi, it's Margaret, and thank you so much for joining me here on the Gardening Me. It has been a super slow start to the season this year. Everything is really far behind. The weather was really cool, verging on cold for the last few weeks. Now, finally, we're starting to warm up. This is, I think, only the second or third day I've been able to be out here in a t-shirt. So that's always really exciting. Today I am talking about dahlias. I ordered a few more this year from Flower Bulbs R Us, which is a Canadian uh, bulb order company. No affiliation or anything like that. Every year I buy a few more, and this year was no exception. I'm super excited to look what's in the box because I did do a little research on them. I have details about them on my computer here so I can tell you a little bit about each one. But I did this when I first bought them, which was a month and a half, 2 months ago, something like that. So I can't even really remember what I bought. Let's dig in and take a look to see what we have. So the first one I have here is this guy here. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'll probably do separate footage where I'll do a close-up of the flower. And this one is called Crazy Love. It is such a pretty one. So the flowers are white blooms with lilac tips and pale yellow centers. And the name Crazy refers to its vigorous blooming habit. And it's supposed to be a high energy plant with prolific blooms. Now, this is a decorative type dahlia. It grows to be 2 to 3 feet tall, and the blooms are about 6 inches across. So here is the next one, and this one is called Arabian Night, and it is a very deep red color. It's gorgeous. Now, these guys appear almost black in certain types of light, and the description says it's one of the deepest colors available for dahlias. I've also read that the petals have darker areas that create the illusion that they're more deeply curved than they actually are. And this is actually an older variety, and it's been around for about 60 years. It is a decorative dahlia, and the flowers are doubles. The bloom size is 6 to 8 inches across, and it gets to be 3 foot to 3 foot 7 inches tall. This next one is called Blue Bayou, and it is more of an open type center dahlia, and it is what's known as an anemone type of dahlia because the blooms resemble anemone flowers. It has a dense raised center that's surrounded by a single layer of flat petals. Now, the petals are super vibrant, deep bluish lavender, which fades into a darker, rich purple center. I've also seen it mentioned that the petals on this sometimes have a silvery sheen to them, so that is going to be absolutely gorgeous. And one last feature about this one is the stems. It has dark stems, and that's something I really love in plants. It just provides such a gorgeous contrast. This one grows 3 to 4 feet tall. The blooms are kind of on the smaller side, around 4 to 6 inches across. Here is another stunner. I think all of them are stunners. I really outdid myself, I think, if I do say so myself, in picking them this year because everyone looks absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see them flower. Anyhow, this one is called Wine-Eyed Jill. This one has round blooms with peach and yellow tones with pink tips and a deep burgundy center. Apparently, as the season progresses, those peach hues gradually fade to a soft yellow, and the dark burgundy center, though, remains as a focal point on each bloom. The description also says that this is one of the first dahlias to bloom every season. Now, when it comes to height, there's kind of a big range online. I've seen it listed to be anywhere from 3 foot tall all the way up to 5 foot tall. So I guess maybe it depends on the conditions it's grown in. We'll see how tall it gets in my garden. Obviously, if it ends up being on the taller side, it's going to need a little bit of support to stay upright. Now, this is a decorative type dahlia, and the blooms are relatively small. They're only about 3 to 4 inches across. This next one is a collarette dahlia, which is one of my favorites actually. It has that open center, and the pollinators just love these. This one, oh, hair in my mouth. This one is called Fashion Monger. The outer petals are a creamy ivory color, and they have this beautiful magenta towards the base. And the inner petals are a white, but they do sometimes also get some magenta streaking in them. This is also an older variety. It's been around since around 1955, and it does get 3 to 4 feet tall, and the blooms are, again, relatively small, ranging from 3 to 4 inches across. Now, the next one is called Apricot Star, and it is also one of my favorite types of dahlia blooms. Just like the collarette's one of my favorite, these cactus ones, I absolutely love them. The petals on this one are pale yellow, and they sort of transition as they go along to having purple tips. The blooms are not small, but they're not huge either. They're kind of a mid-range size at 6 inches across. This one is also a mid-size in terms of height, getting to be about 4 feet tall. So at that height, I would think, yes, it definitely would require a little bit of support. Okay, so another cactus dahlia, and this one, well, let me just explain the color. Now, on the photos online and on the packet, it reads to be pink. But in the description, it says that these are pale peach blooms with soft coral undertones. And I have seen pictures of this one that show it being a blend of peachy, pinky, and yellow. This one is a semi-cactus, which I'm actually not exactly sure what that means. It looks pretty cactusy to me, but anyhow, I guess the petals are not as cactus-like as the full cactus type dahlias. This one also has dark stems, which contrast really well with the pale pink or peach flowers. The blooms on this one are, again, a medium kind of range. They go from 4 to 6 inches tall, and the height on it is 3 to 4 feet tall. So this is an interesting one that I saw, and I thought, I gotta try this out. And this one is Cafe au lait twist. So it's not the normal cafe au lait, it's cafe au lait, but with a little bit of a twist. The petals have pink streaks, so that's the twist on it. It looks fascinating in the photo. Now, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this one, because in the photo, the center kind of looks as if it has a muddy sort of color that I'm not particularly fond of. However, you know how it is with flowers. Sometimes when you see them in real life, they are just far more spectacular if they haven't been photoshopped in the picture. I guess we'll have to wait and see what the verdict is once it blooms. So here's another pink one. I guess I'm on a pink thing this year, and this one is called Rosella. This one is a decorative dahlia, and it has large, bright, purplish pink blooms. This is another variety that's quite old. It's about 50 years old. Now, the packet says this one actually is around 5 feet tall, pretty tall, but I have seen other places that it's 4 feet tall. Either way, this is definitely one that's going to need a little bit of support. The blooms on this one are relatively, medium-ish, I guess, at 5 inches across. So another cactus variety. This one is called Nuit d'été, and that is French for summer night. This one is a deep, dark purple maroon color, and the petals almost appear black in the center. Now, just like Arabian Nights, they say that this one is one of the darkest dahlias you can get. The blooms on this one are fairly small. They're only about 4 inches across, but it is a tall one. This one is a 5-footer. It's kind of interesting, actually, because it seems that a lot of the dahlias with the smallest blooms have the tallest height. So, which is good in a way, because you wouldn't want like a 5-foot dahlia with a humongous bloom like that. I mean, that would just require ridiculous amounts of support. So in a way, that's a good thing. And here we are at the tail end of the Dahlia Haul 2025. This last one here is called Maldini, and it kind of reminds me of Rosella, except this one has white tips, or not even tips, but it has a white outline along the edge of most of the petals. This one is said to have a bushy habit, and it is a prolific bloomer. It's a decorative dahlia, and the blooms are about 5 inches across. But unlike most of the other ones, this is a relatively short one. Now, it can get around 2 to 3 feet tall. I think the description on this one says it's around just topping the 2 foot. It says 70 centimeters, which is like, I don't know, 2'3" or something like that. And I've seen other websites indicate it's closer to 3 feet, but still relatively short for a dahlia. When I actually make the tags for these and when I save them, I always put down the height, because I do tend to forget what the height on all of these different varieties are. Anyhow, that is it for the Dahlia haul this year. I'm super excited to get the season going. It's, like I said, it's been such a slow start to the season. I have cleaned up most of my beds already. We have things coming up, but even the daffodils, I have a couple blooming, but hardly any of those have bloomed yet, which goes to show you how late we are. I think we're probably around 2 weeks later than we normally are at this time of year. So yeah, it's lovely to have that warm weather and to really get going. I have a lot of things under the lights, not as much as usual, because there are other things in the garden to get done. And every year I seem to bite off a little bit more than I can chew when it comes to seed starting and all that kind of thing. And, you know, sales that are going on. There's a couple of perennial sales that I'll be going to in the next 2-3 weeks. And it's hard to hold back when you're at those. You may say to yourself you're only going to get 1 or 2 things, but that generally never happens. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you are having fantastic spring weather and that it arrived more or less on a timely basis for you. And you are out there puttering in the garden and taking care of your seedlings and all that kind of good stuff. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.